The FBI may have cleared Hillary Clinton of any criminal wrongdoing, but this email scandal is not going away anytime soon. Now some members of Congress want answers. Tomorrow, the House Oversight and Government Reform Committee will question Director Jim Comey. On Tuesday, his boss, Attorney General Loretta Lynch, will face the Judiciary Committee. Speaker Paul Ryan wants the FBI to hand over all findings from the investigation and says Clinton should be blocked from having further access to classified material.
He did say that short of prosecution, some kind of administrative action might be in order. Look, I was on the ticket in 2012. After the convention, you get the full, deep classified information as part of transition, as part of being a nominee. I think the DNI, Clapper, should deny Hillary Clinton access to classified information during this campaign, given how she so recklessly handled classified information.
Ryan also said that this case sums up the political machine that the Clintons have created.
This certainly does underscore the belief that the Clintons live above the law. And this is one of the reasons why people are so dissatisfied, so upset about government. They think that people live by a different set of rules. And the Clintons, they take the candle on this one.
All right, I'm going to go quick to this RNC ad that they put together with Comey statements versus Hillary Clinton statements. I'm going to short clip of that and get everybody's reaction.
I thought it would be easier to carry just one device for my work and for my personal emails instead of two.
She also used numerous mobile devices to send and to read email on that personal domain.
I did not email any classified material to anyone on my email. 110
emails in 52 email chains have been determined by the owning agency to contain classified information.
There were no security breaches.
We do assess that hostile actors gained access to the private commercial email accounts of people with whom Secretary Clinton was in regular contact.
Okay, so often when you get a baffling decision like the one that FBI Director Comey put forward yesterday afternoon, after a night's sleep, you wake up with a little bit more clarity. But Kimberly, I tell you, this morning, after reading all the press, I felt like it was still as confusing as before as to why it happened.
Yeah, and still kind of shocking in many ways because of the 14 minutes spent diligently going through all the detail, all the specifics, really making the case. Wow, I was like, wow, he's really giving us a tremendous amount of information. Is this an opening statement, closing argument for the case against Hillary Clinton? Oh, but no, because at the end, like it was some kind of weird copy-paste situation that the wrong conclusion was put in. And it was like, whoa, what happened here? And when you see him, I almost felt sorry for him in these videos because he really looks like almost like a hostage to the situation. Like he's not, like he's had a hard time of it. He didn't look great. So I imagine that this wasn't something that he was personally proud of. He didn't take questions afterwards, but he's going to have to face questions going forward, and let's see if he answers them in the interest of transparency.
Greg, do you think that FBI Director Comey was trying to strike a balance in his head, that he thought that the verbal punishment that he was delivering in his statement before the conclusion would be enough to exonerate him from any blame, that it was political?
I think so. I think the Republicans, especially tomorrow, should embrace Comey. He didn't just leave an impression on Hillary. He left a crater the size of Little Rock. I mean, he handed to the Republicans the roadmap to victory. He laid out every single flaw. And if you attack Comey on this, it's a mistake. You've got to stick to Hillary. By the way, it would be hilarious to have a presidential candidate without a security clearance. That's like it's like Danica Patrick without a driver's license. You essentially make it so that they can't do their job. But I think that you know, he did something he didn't have to do. I think at this point, if you could run a sack of potatoes with a wig against Hillary and beat her at this point, which is kind of what we're doing.
I think in some of the coverage, Eric, I was wondering what you thought about this.
Hillary.
Well, I was going to ask you about
Hillary. That was proof right there. I'm sorry.
No, I was just going to ask you about President Obama's complicit in this scandal, I think, because they all knew that she was using this email address, and they didn't do anything about it.
Perhaps, yes. But also they had to know this recommendation was coming down this way. There's no way on Sunday or Monday President Obama says, I will meet with you. I'll fly you on Air Force One to North Carolina. We'll land, and I'll be standing next to you on a stage for our very first campaign event. If he doesn't know the recommendation hours earlier was going to be.
Sense of it.
Yeah,
well, but they announced the trip the week before.
Yeah, but still, okay. Let me ask you this:
that morning, they're like, campaign won't confirm yes or no. We're getting pushed back that he's not promised to appear.
The weather. We can't get on Air Force One because of the weather. They could have done anything if there was going to be a recommendation to indict. James Comey spent 15 minutes on with this presentation. He did 3 or 4 minutes on. Remember 3 areas: what we did, what we found, and what we recommend. 3 or 4 minutes on what we did. About 10 minutes on what we found. The vast majority of his time speaking was what we found. And that's bad for Hillary Clinton. And that plays right into what Greg is saying. The vast majority of what he said was campaign fodder for Donald Trump. And then the 1 to 2 minutes of, oh, by the way, but we found all that. We're not recommending any sort of action, which I think is ridiculous.
And then a strange thing, Juan, is that that's really not his role. So he's the FBI. They they finish the investigation, and they, correct me if I'm wrong, Kimberly, then they give it to the prosecutors and they make a decision. But so basically, Comey took a bullet for the political appointees so that they didn't have to be the ones to suffer any fallout from it. So is he the hero to the left?
I don't know that he's the hero. I mean, Jim Comey's a Republican, but I think that what he did in his mind, I like the way that you posed the question to Greg. I think he felt he was taking responsibility. And, you know, picking up on what Greg said, I think that what he did was he thought, look, I'm giving you the entire record, which indicates that Hillary Clinton behaved recklessly with classified or secure information. But I don't think that there's any evidence that she was disloyal to the United States, intended to send classified information, or somehow intentionally mishandled classified information. Therefore, in terms of the standard for prosecution, he said, it's never been done before without these elements, and I don't see there's going to be done.
But that's just not true. There's like 12 to 13 instances where, in fact, it has been done, and in fact, it's irrelevant whether she intended to or not, because quite simply, that is not the standard of proof that is required.
Well, I think that's what Jim Comey said, so that's all I'm reporting.
No, he was saying, I think it's because you don't derail a presidential nominee, the presumptive nominee of the party, unless he has clear and convincing, but that's changing the game, that's changing the rules of evidence and the standard of proof.
It might not
and
be
it's out of
his role,
bounds. Somebody should have given him a stand-down order because
the Wall Street
call.
Journal said something very fascinating this morning in their editorial page. They said, basically, maybe Comey did this because he wanted to spare the country a Trump presidency, but that's not his role.
But they also said that, well, let's just be honest about it.
Yeah, let's be blunt. That's what they said. But I will say this, that what I think is the mistake now is that they're going to put Comey in the box.
Right.
Instead of going after Hillary now, it's going after Comey. And you're going to say, oh, Mr. Comey, show me the internals of this FBI investigations. My God, you're going to raise the ghost of J. Edgar Hoover all of a sudden. You're politicizing FBI files.
It's frustrating. You have this gift, and the Republicans may shoot the gift giver.
They always overreach. They overreach, and then they look bad.
Focus on the facts. Don't start shooting around the room.
No grandstanding.
Can I push back on that a little bit? He also is the guy. Look, I know he's wonderful, above reproach in most instances, but he's the guy who decided after how many tens of thousands of hours, 150 or so FBI investigators combing through tens of thousands of emails. They're working hard. They think they find 200 smoking guns or 1,000 smoking guns, where she's lied saying, I never sent a classified email, but she has on several thousand occasions. And then he says, we're not going to recommend you go further with this. They go, wait a minute, I just spent the last 7, 8 months of my life finding this, and you go, we're not going to do anything with it?
Right. He said a few, not thousands.
No, he said 200 emails were classified
well, not thousands.
At the highest level.
No, remember, we're talking about
tens of thousands of
pages. Tens of thousands of pages of
emails.
So what he said is there was no intent to break the law.
But I have to say it's kind of frustrating to me to hear that, because I did have SCI top secret clearance for a long time. I was privileged to do so, and I took it very seriously. And you don't have to have intent. That's what I remember that briefing like it was yesterday, because you have to take it so seriously to sign on the dotted line. Like, you understand that if you mishandle this information, at a minimum, you will be stripped of your security clearance. So I think the other gift that Comey gave to the Republicans, if they were to use it correctly, is that once again you have the Clintons acting like they are above the law, and in this case, they are.
Yeah, you know,
above the law.
The Clintons are like a giant mud puddle at a bus stop. You don't want to stand near them. And it doesn't matter who you are, because Comey is a good person. And we've said this, Lynch is a good person, but you can't look at them the same anymore because they got splattered by Clinton mud, and that doesn't come off easily.
Do you think she signed the same document you did?
Hillary Clinton?
Yeah.
I believe so, and actually I think that was produced and released by the State Department.
So if she did sign that document, isn't there a case to be made that she violated that document?
Well, that's why I don't think it's over.
And her security clearance should
Yeah, because there should be an administrative hearing to revoke the security clearances like Paul Ryan and like Marco Rubio was calling for today earlier when I interviewed him, saying, listen, these people, all of them that are part of her staff, Uma Abedin and Cheryl Mills, all of these people should be subjected to having their security clearances revoked. And you heard Paul Ryan say,
if she signed,
I believe the State Department released that last year. The other thing that bothered me was when Comey talked about how she would use her mobile devices inappropriately in countries that are hostile to us. And I was remembering when we went to Russia, and I think it was 2007, the Secret Service told us, you're going to have to leave your BlackBerries on Air Force One. And you should have seen all of us like, how could we possibly do our jobs if we leave our BlackBerries here? And it was like giving up your security blanket, literally. But we did it because that information didn't belong to us. It belonged to the nation. So we all took out the batteries, gave them the Secret Service, left the phones on the plane, and we were able to survive just fine. But if we hadn't done that, we had defied the Secret Service and done that, we at a minimum should have been stripped of our clearance.
And of course, they tell you how to dress in certain countries, so you were kept safe from the marauding, who believe that you must dress like this, but then you can have your BlackBerries completely vulnerable.
So they're going to keep this going all summer, you guys think, right? Because they got recess coming up. He wants to have hearings, so they're going to be hearings in judiciary, hearings and oversight. It just is going to go on. You know what?
But it's also the Clinton Foundation that you have a problem with.
People are just going to be like, Republicans, they're doing another Benghazi.
No, unless
they just can't let go.
No, but you are right if they shoot all over the place. But if they focus on Hillary and just say, she wasn't indicted in court, but boy, Comey indicted her in the court of public opinion. Her character, her trustworthiness. If you just focus on one thing, she's unfit to be president because she was, as a Secretary of State, put the country at risk. That's all you need to do.
And she thinks she's better than you.
And don't forget, Benghazi created the emails issue. With the emails issue may open the door for some Clinton Foundation stuff. So stay on it.
And maybe Loretta's not going to file the charges, but November a decision may be made.
And we're staying on it into the next block.
No, we're not.
We're going to move on to the next block.